Hey there, welcome to the next installment of Making the Mix. In this one, we start looking at bringing in the guitars. And we have a bunch of guitars in this tune to bring in, but before we do the guitars, I want to also show you what I've been doing in the meantime, because of course, one of the things that happens when we mix is that we go back and redo some things or change some things that we've already done once we've done some new stuff. And I was noticing some things when I pulled this up earlier, and I decided to address them, and I'll show you what I did here real quick, and so you can see what kind of things that happen when you start looking back. So I realized at the very end of the tune that the bass was sort of getting lost, and let's get to the end of the tune here, and I want to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to play you that from here on out. This section right here, I sort of feel like I've got the low bass, the upper bass. I'm not really getting the full picture. So it sort of feels like it's like hollowed out, and I wanted to get some more low mid-range grunge in. So what did I do? I made a new track here. I made a send, an auxiliary input, which I'm circling furiously over here. And I'm using a good old-fashioned Sans amp, and these are you should have this as part of your suite with Pro Tools. These are incredibly handy. These are great for guitars. Actually, you'll be surprised what a good guitar tone you can get from a Sans amp, plugging straight in. But these are also great for dirtying things up, dirtying up drums, dirtying up anything that you would use to reamp. If you're going to reamp a bass or a guitar or something, try the Sans amp first. It's actually a pretty robust piece of programming here. Anyway, so I went ahead and put this on the track. I made two sends, and I'm sending both the low and the high parts over there. Here's my thing for that. So giving it both a unity. And so I'm sending that over here. I'm going to sort of introduce this as it's playing and show you how this sounds. Without. And that's really helping it sort of all of a sudden have some presence in the mix. And I know when I start bringing some of these guitars in, I'm really gonna lose the bass. So yeah, as you can see, I took some high end off, put some low end in, used the drive, the buzz, the punch, and the crunch. In this, they pretty much deal with 3 different frequency ranges of distortion. So you can have distortion at different frequency ranges. I don't know exactly what they are. And then the preamp gives you a preamp distortion as well. So between the preamp, these 3 things here in the drive, you can really sculpt in a pretty cool distortion. And I recommend this. All right, so the other thing I did over here, just to show you, I went over to my rooms that I have for the drums, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and give them compressors because I wanted to hear more of the room, especially on its real section. And so I did that, and let me go ahead and show you what that sounds like. I'm going to take them. Here's my Fairchild. And I'm going to take these out, and I'll bring them back in so you can see what I'm talking about. Let me bypass them both. Okay, just listen to the room mic. You can see that I'm getting a lot more air around the drums now because I'm compressing these room mics. I'm compressing them, and it's a pretty fast release, so they're really they're coming down on the transients and then coming right back up again, so then I can really push these up and level. And let me just I'll go ahead and solo these and show you real quick what's happening. I'll take them out. Here's without. Give me more body in this drum, more energy around the kit. And the drums light it up a little bit too, because the drums are in that room, and it's helping tie the drums into the kit a little bit better. So I really like that, and I'm a big fan of these Fairchilds. The other thing I did is I put a little more high end on the kick. But yeah, these are some things that as soon as I pulled this track back up, I was going, ooh, I could use some more of that stuff. All right, so now let's start on the guitars. And I've got my guitar tracks here. I have a pair of acoustic guitars, which I'm going to wait on that for a minute because I know that's just in the Samsara section. I really want to sort of concentrate more on the electric guitars. And the electric guitars I want to sort of work on first are the ones in the It's Real section. So when we get down here and look at our guitars, and here's our guitar situation. I've got these guitars here, the first guitar, and I got a second guitar that has both a 57 and a 121. I got a third, fourth, and fifth guitar that are in this section. So these are all fuzzes. And let's just go listen to each of these in succession and see what's happening here. First of all, let's hear this number one guitar here. That's a nice little clean kind of like dingle 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 thing that's pretty clean. Let's hear the second guitar with the 57 and the 121. That's kind of cool. Let's take it with just the 57. Just the 121. Those of you who remember from the class how the 121 is the ribbon mic, and that takes a little bit of high end off and brings up a little warmth. These two together make a really good combination. So that's why we have the 57 and 121 together. And that's obviously the same guitar and amp. All right, so that's going to be in the Samsara section. And I want to deal with the It's Real section. So that's going to be here. So let's listen to 3 guitar real quick, see what that kind of quality it has. So it's a nice sort of a dark sort of guitar. Let's hear the 4 guitar real quick and see what that sounds like. And maybe I'll bring that up to level here a little bit. Bassier tone with a little high end, more of a low and high thing, sort of a scooped tone, if you will. Let's check out the let's check out this next one here. And what's that? So that's got a lot of good grit and high end to it. These first two sound a little bit low endier. This one's got more high end. Let's look at Ross guitar number 3 here, though, which is also going to be in this picture, and see what it's doing. That's got a sort of a part that's moving more than the other parts are. The other parts are pretty straightforward, and this one has a different quality. So I'm thinking, so the first thing I'm thinking about these 4 guitars, the first thing I want to think about, do I need all 4 guitars? So what I'm first going to do just really quick, I'm going to sort of go through these. There's 3 guitar. So what I'm thinking is I kind of like my Ross guitar. I think I'm going to want that to the side, or at least in a place where I can sort of pick it out. And then let's look at maybe, I feel like the 4 guitar just sort of gets muddy. The 3 guitar is pretty dark, and we haven't done any EQing yet. I'm just sort of want to start with the basic thing. I'm trying to sort of paint my guitar picture here. So I'm going to try a couple of panning schemes here real quick just to see which combination of these guitars I like. Okay, so I think what I'm liking right now, fundamentally, after I've just been sort of playing around with this, I think I'm going to want this 4 guitar out of the picture. I like 3 guitar on the left, 5 guitar in the middle, and Ross guitar 3 on the right. Let's just check that one more time. Now, you may also have been noticing that I have the vocal out right now, and I'm going to bring it back in pretty soon because I don't want to work too far with these guitars without the vocal being in. But I'm just sort of right now, I'm trying to sort out what's happening with the guitars before I bring that in so I can sort of keep my mind clear about it. Oh yeah, that reminds me. There is one more thing that I did I wanted to show you real quick while I was sort of messing around. You may have also noticed over here that there's an extra track over here by the snare. It's an instrument track. It's got a battery on it, and the battery's got its drum samples. I decided I really wanted to make the snare just a little more beefaroni. So what did I do? I went up here and I made a MIDI track, and I believe I've showed you all how to do this before in a later one of these things as well. One of the things that we can do is we can take our snare track, and for each one of these main hits, we can put a MIDI note there. And there's a little, it's a slight trick I'll show you later. But I decided to go ahead and do that so I'd have that sample in case I needed it. And it's right now it's sort of beefing up the snare just a little bit, giving it a little more body. Actually, let me show you what that's doing here. Take it out. I'll put it in. It's kind of subtle, but it's sort of adding a little bit of extra, just a little extra oomph to the snare, a little more impact. And this is what mixing is we sort of add little increments of things here and there. We're not doing sort of too much stuff all at once. I want to kind of keep a balance of things. So anyways, I like where that's going. Let's get back to the guitar. So I'm going to commit to the situation, and that means I'm not going to be using 4 guitar anymore. So what I'm going to do with 4 guitar is I'm going to make it inactive and hide it. So let's mute it. Click on it. We'll go up to track. We'll make inactive. If we just mute it and leave it there, it's still playing. It's still using CPU. We're just not hearing it. If we make the track inactive, now it's not even in the mix and it's not adding any pressure to anything. We can take that now, and if we go over here on the side, I can click at that dot next to it where it's got a little italics there. I'll click on that. Okay, so it's gone. All right, 3 guitar, 5 guitar, Ross guitar 3. That's what we got. So what do you say we should go ahead and do this right now? Let's go ahead and put EQs across the board on all of the guitars. I think we're gonna want to do it. So guess what? I want to use ozones. I'm going to even do it to the acoustic guitar later. So I'm going to highlight all of these like so with the shift button. I'm going to go shift option to the top here, plug in EQ ozone 9. Boop, 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 boop. I get a whole bunch of ozone 9s. And I love ozone 9 because what's great about it is it shows you a graphic display of the waveform while it's playing, so it gives you some idea of what you're dealing with before you start messing with it. All right, so let's look at 3 guitar, and first let's look at 3 guitar. We want to do 2 things. One, the first thing I like to do is sort of bring out what's kind of great about that guitar sound. So I'm going to be looking for some frequencies to pull out. I'm going to then pull everything back together again, and then I'm going to look at the frequencies that I need to get rid of to keep from masking the other ones. So this is where it gets a little tricky, and this is sort of a personal taste moment here. So let's just do this process here. So the first thing that we're going to do with any guitar thing, right off the bat, we're going to do a high pass filter. And one pretty good one, I'd say even right about even up to about 100 or 60 or so, or 69. So as you can see, there's all the stuff down here. We don't need it. We don't want it. We don't like it. So what I like to do with an EQ like this is I'm just going to go ahead and put it sort of a narrow cue. I'm going to just jack it up there and listen to it pretty loud and sort of familiarize myself with the frequency that it's dealing with. And what I did here is I just sort of reached around until I sort of found this. I sort of felt like right around here, around 100, I can get a little tiny little of a peak there, and that sort of gives this guitar just a little point on it. That's kind of nice. When this guitar is playing, I noticed there's hardly any high-end information. From 6K up, there's hardly anything on there anyway. So it's a pretty self-contained sound. Anyways, let's just do a little bypass. Now we'll see if we want to roll anything off here in a little bit. I'm going to sort of wait till I get all my guitars in before I start pulling low-end frequency out of things to make room for everything. I'm going to start again with sort of the stuff that I want to bring out. I'm making a mental note here. This guitar has this little bump around 1K. So I'm going to, whatever bumps I find for these guitars are not the same frequency. So a little mental note there to myself. Let's get over to the 5 guitar. Okay, so I sort of find that I like about 1.7K for this one, for its little frequency of love that it's going to get. Now put that together with the other guitar. See how that's happening, if we like that. Okay, is it just me or does the guitar seem loud? They're really kind of overwhelming the band a little bit. I mean, that's my perception of it. Let's just hear a little bit. I mean, I like loud guitars like the next person, but I think what I want to do is I want to pull these guitars back. So what am I going to do? I'm going to clip gain, guys. Let's do a quick -3 dB. All right. The transients of the drums are now passing the guitars a little bit, so I don't feel like the guitars are just like sitting on, squashing everybody on down. And that's the funny thing about levels. We start realizing that the relative levels of things really do sort of affect how we perceive the mix. So if something's a little too loud, it's funny how we don't really like that. So let's check out now Ross Guitar 3 and see what that's doing in the mix, since these guys are all sort of in the same party together. I find myself gravitating towards the 3K area for this one because it's got a little bit of sort of treble to the pickup here. So now let's pull them all together, three guitar, 5 guitar, and Ross Guitar 3. See how they all work together. I gotta pull the Ross guitar down a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to look at these clean guitars here. We're going to look first at one guitar and Ross Guitar 1. These are the two guitars that are clean guitars that are in the Samsara section. So let's see if we can look at those, these here and these here. I'm going to look at first at one guitar, and let's just find out what's happening here. That seems pretty loud to me. I think I want to make that more of a high-endy thing. So let's go ahead and get to our ozone right away. Open this up, and let's, first of all, let's do our run 5. All right, so let's just get that going here. Okay, that's better for me. I'm wondering about the pan. So here's a thought that I had about this tune and about this effect, and that is, let's put it in an auto pan. So it sort of just moves around a little bit, so it sort of just has a kind of its own sort of way to go. So let's make an auto pan for this. This is what's fun too. So let's go to plugins, sound field, auto pan, mono stereo. And what this does, you can see, it's just going to go back and forth at whatever speed we want it to do it at. So let's make that not so fast. Let's make that a little slower. And when I put that on there, this was a mono track to start with. When I put this on there, all of a sudden it became a stereo track. So now my one guitar is a stereo track with an auto pan on it. Let's just see what this sounds like. And let's just take this out of this mode here, and let's hear how it goes. Kind of like it when it's like that. Like it's the tempo though. Might put a little more effect on it, might put a little flangey thing on it, but right now I like it just kind of, there's other stuff that's going to be happening. I don't know if I'm going to affect it too much yet, and I don't want to make those kind of decisions prematurely. All right, so let me look at my Ross Guitar 1, which, as we notice over here, this is also happening constantly through this section. So let's see what's going on with that. Let's unmute. I also feel like I need to sort of sculpt some sound out of this tone as well. So let's get over here to Ozone 9 and deal with it. do I want this in the center? Do I want this? I think I want this off to the side. I'm gonna put this over here. So now we have to address these other guitars there. And these other guitars basically happen at the same time. The second guitar that has 2 microphones on it, and the Ross guitar too. So I'm thinking right off the bat, left and right. So because then let's see how that's going to work. And we'll probably go ahead and put the 57 and the 121 together on the same side. So that's what I propose to do. Let's left side these guys, and let's right side this person. All right, let's now bring them into the picture. Okay, that's obviously going to be pretty loud. So let's try to first get our levels sort of figured out. Bring everybody down 3. Try that. I'm going to go in 3 dB increments. It's still a bit loud. Let's get these guys down more. Let's get it down just another 3. Another 3. Another 3. All right. Two more dB then. Start from there because we're going to be probably adding some frequencies to this. So we'll start. It's better to come from underneath. All right, like that. Still pretty loud. Let's get those down a little bit more. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, I think I decided though that I want to switch the sides of these guitars. I think I like the idea of this guitar being on this side and this guitar being on this side. Let's hear that real quick. Yeah, like that. A little bit less Ross guitar too. That sounded pretty good. Now that's one thing we want to try to make sure happens is that sort of ramps up. And then we definitely want that sort of to have that feeling happen there. So I'm liking this level so far. Let's look at our EQs on this stuff. First of all, the 2 guitar 57 and 121. Let's just get over there where we can hear some of this. I like it about here. All right, and let's hear the other guitar with it. Again, we got a filter. think so. Again, you just sort of play with it until you sort of get something that makes some sense. Now let's get this all together. All right, let's hear this all together here and just sort of see if we're getting kind of close. You haven't even done any reverb or anything. Okay, now let's see if we can get the acoustic guitar in. Opening it up over here on the masters. All right, acoustic guitars. We have two different ones, obviously. They're not the same performance. Let's just solo them up. With two different microphones, not two microphones on the same thing. So I kind of like the idea of giving, we're probably going to treat these guys the same. It's the same guitar. We'll probably, let's go ahead and put them left and right so we get this sort of a nice spread on them. I'm going to put these guys left and right and try to find the right balance point for them. First, let's sort of get them into the mix. Like that for our initial level here. Let's go up on these guys. All right, so let's open up our acoustic guitar. Once again, we got to do the big filter. I think we're going to want some glisten to this. I'm doing a little dip here in the around 400 or so. I'm adding some high end to this thing, just some glisten to it. Other than that, I don't want to really do too much to the sound, and I'm just going to let it ride, man. And the guitars sort of end up becoming part of the rhythm track. It's almost like the hi-hat, since I don't really have a hi-hat so much as I have this guitar. And let's just hear it now from the beginning and into the first chorus and see what we might need to deal with. Okay, I don't know about you, but I could use a little bit of ambience on those acoustic guitars. Let's make a quick little bit of room for these guys. So I'm going to make a nice stereo aux input. Let's put this up here. Let's make it the nice right color here. All right, what color is that? All right, that'll work. That's good enough. All right, so we'll call this act guitar verb. Make sure it's going to the acoustic guitar bus. Make sure you do this. This is very important. Let's do that. Let's make sure now it's input. We're going to make a new bus for this. Bus 3 and 4. Let's rename it. And we'll call that act guitar bus or verb. And we'll go ahead and assign both of these to that. So highlight both of them. Shift Option bus acoustic guitar verb. There it is. Yeah. And let's just go ahead and put them both in there. Let's put the FMP on so that it reflects where they are in the pan scheme. They're both up. All right, let's check this and put. Oh, we got to put a reverb on it. Let's do that. Let's just get a little studio reverb here. Here it is. And let's find maybe a room. Just see how that room sounds real quick. And you can hear when I stop it. I like that. It's a little too much though. Let's back this off. Let's get a little less decay here. Let's take these guys down to 10 dB instead of 0. All right. Just really want to pop a bit. Take it out. Put it in. It just gives those guitars a little sort of shadow behind them. And that's working for me. That little wood room is okay. All right, so this is where we're going to leave it for now. We got the guitars in, so our next time we get together, we're going to put in all our other stuff and bring the vocals back in and sort of make sure everything's living together nicely. Until then, see you later.